Jumping to King's Landing, a great detail here is that you can also see scorpions lining the Red Keep. These giant crossbows were something we saw up close last week, with it showcasing how fortified it is. Now this highlighted why it was safer to send in blood and cheese, but killing the rat catchers has proved to be vastly unpopular. In doing this to get this one guy, Aegon's killed innocent people who all had friends and families. And dogs. Now this is what causes a further divide between Aegon and Otto, with Rhys fans delivering what I think is his best performance. The fractures between them were highlighted in the work, and it went on to say, "Yet Sir Otto was losing the trust of his king, who mistook his efforts for inaction and his caution for cowardice." Septon Eustace tells us of one occasion when Aegon entered the Tower of the Hand and found Sir Otto writing another letter, whereupon he knocked the impot into his grandsire's lap, declaring, "Thrones are won with swords, not quills, spill blood, not ink." This line is played upon in the show, with us getting this:
"I wish to spill blood, not ink."
The book then talks about how Otto was ousted and replaced by Criston Cole. It says, "The delay did not sit well with the young king. Aegon II had run short of patience with his grandfather's prevarications." That's why I'm a YouTuber. Though his mother, the Dowager Queen Alicent, spoke up in Sir Otto's defence, his grace turned a deaf ear to her pleading. Summoning Sir Otto to the throne room, he tore the chain of office from his neck and tossed it to Sir Criston Cole. "My new hand is a steel fist," he boasted. "We are done with writing letters." Now this is then said in the episode,
"I wish to spill blood, not ink."
My new hand will be a steel fist.
Now from here, the passage says, "Sir Criston wasted no time improving his mettle. It is not for you to plead for support from your lords like a beggar pleading for alms," he told Aegon. "You are the lawful king of Westeros, and those who denied are traitors. It is past time they learn the price of treason." Now in the next passage, we learn that beyond the mission with Arek, that they murdered all their political prisoners in the Red Keep. I'm not going to read out the whole thing because it's quite a long passage, but they were told they could either keep their oaths or swear to King Aegon. Those who refused were beheaded, with their heads being mounted on the spikes above the city gates. Now the book then sort of goes into Otto's firing, and we see in the show that he doesn't take it well. He calls Aegon an insolent pup, which is an insult he's thrown at him in the series before. Throwing the hand of the King Badge at his feet, we see as Otto's dismissed from the Game of Thrones. Felt bad for the guy, because no one would be anywhere without him, and in playing this game of treachery, he didn't expect it to hit him. Shut out the room, it ends his time as the Hand of the King, with the war he started leading to his dismissal. Isoria is then dismissed too, with Rhaenyra charting a boat to Pentos. Pentos is a location we've seen in the main show, with it being away from Westeros and a much safer place from Isoria since Jaehaerys' death. Spotting Sir Arek, she's like, "Hold on a second, that's not the Wallet Inspector." And the book explains how he's able to just stroll in and know where he's going. It says, "Sir Arek was intimately familiar with the ancient seat of House Targaryen, having visited there often during the reign of King Viserys. Many fishermen still plied the waters of Blackwater Bay, for Dragonstone depend on the sea for sustenance. It would be a simple thing to deliver cargo to the fishing village under the castle. From there he could then make his own way to the Queen. And Sir Arek and his brother Sir Eric were twins, identical in all respects. Not even their fellows of the King's Guard could tell the two apart," both Mushroom and Septon Eustace assert. Once clad in white, Sir Arek should be able to move freely about Dragonstone, Sir Criston suggested. Any guards who chanced to encounter him would surely mistake him for his brother. Now this is exactly what ends up happening. He goes past the guards, and even though some have just seen Eric, he says they're not paying attention. It's such a good and tense scene, as we as viewers also don't know who's going to Rhaenyra. And the book isn't as dramatic, and the twins don't clash swords in her room. We don't even know if Arek was meant to kill her, as his true mission was shrouded in mystery. The true purpose of Sir Arek's mission remains a matter of some contention. Grand Maester Munkin tells us that Cargyll had been commanded to slay Rhaenyra, putting an end to her rebellion at a stroke, whilst Mushroom insists that her sons were Cargyl's prey, that Aegon II wished to wash the blood out of his murdered son with that of the bastard nephews Jacaerys and Joffrey Strong. So they kept it a lot simpler for the show, though he could want revenge on any of the kids, which is why we cut to Rhaenyra and Daemon's playing together before. However, I think what we get is great, and it's such a tense moment in the series. So Arek came ashore without hindrance, donned his armor and white cloak, and had no trouble gaining entrance to the castle in the guise of his twin brother, just as Criston Cole had planned. Deep in the heart of Dragonstone, however, as he was making his way to the royal apartments, the guards brought him face to face with Sir Eric himself, who knew at once what his brother's presence meant. The singers tell us that Sir Eric said, "I love you, brother," as he unsheathed his blade, and that Sir Eric replied, "And I you, brother," as he drew his own. Now we almost see them coming face to face early on, but Eric moves slyly around the halls. He also stealthily locks the doors and sends the guards on watch to retire. We also get a look at the painted table and the candles being moved out from under it. Created during Aegon's conquest, this gave a full bird's eye view of the realm. Lit from underneath, it allowed for gigantic strategies, and I loved seeing this little bit of maintenance. Going in, Eric draws his sword, but he's then interrupted by Eric. The confusion we see in the guard is also something from the work. The twins battle for the best part of an hour, Grand Maester Munkin says. The clash of steel on steel woke half the Queen's court, but the onlookers could only stand by helplessly and watch, but no man there could tell which brother was which. In the end, Sir Eric and Sir Eric dealt each other mortal wounds, and died in one another's arms with tears upon their cheeks. You really don't know who's winning and who's losing, and even when they get marked up, it's difficult to tell. That's what makes the end of the fight so tense, as you don't know if Rhaenyra's about to get killed or not. Mushroom's account is shorter, saltier, and altogether nastier. The fight lasted only moments, our fool says. There were no declarations of brotherly love. Each Cargyle denounced the other as a traitor as they clashed. Sir Eric, standing above his twin on the spiral steps, struck the first mortal blow. The savage downward cut that night took his brother's sword arm off at the shoulder, but as he collapsed, Sir Eric grasped his slayer's white cloak and pulled him close enough to drive a dagger deep into his belly. Sir Eric was dead before the first guard arrived, but Sir Eric took 4 days to die of his gut wound, screaming in horrible pain and cursing his traitor brother all the while. For obvious reasons, singers and storytellers have shown a marked preference for the tale told by Munkin. Maesters and other scholars must make their own determination as to which version's more likely. All that Septon Eustace says upon the matter is that the Cargyle twins slew each other, and there we must leave it. Now, it's a massive moment in the show, which ends with Eric committing seppuku. In the different tellings in the book, the death is by a sword in the gut, which gets him, and a sort of the same thing here. Was really shocked to see it though, and we know this tale ends up becoming legend. The tale became notable in the song Farewell My Brother, with it marking another 2 brutal deaths in the war. Cutting back to Otto and Alicent, we then hear the former moaning away about his old boss. Now we also hear of Daemon, who's a character that's been absent in the show. When I did my Every Dragon Explained video, I said I didn't bother mentioning him as I didn't know if he was going to be in the series or not. Shout out to Avon Boxdale 2506 for pointing out though that the showrunners have confirmed he's in it. Known as Daemon the Daring, Daemon was actually the most popular son of Viserys and Alicent. Unfortunately though, he didn't initially get the spotlight that they did. Born shortly after Jace was, the book says that Viserys insisted they share a wet nurse so the pair could become milk brothers. Daemon ended up getting pushed to the side though when he was sent to work as a cupbearer for Alicent's cousin Lord Ormond Hightower. When Otto says he'll return home, he mentions how Daemon resides there and he'll help him in the weeks to come. I'm guessing that they're going to use that to explain where he's been, but it's nice to hear him getting name dropped in the show. Like the book, Alicent also says she'll speak to Aegon, but it's clear that it's over. He just sees it as them being against the world, and when she admits her sin, he says he just doesn't care. It's a really tender moment where the pair have been on opposite sides within the house in the past, but now they're seeing that all they have is each other. Him not wanting to hear though might also show he's not interested in her issues, but I do see it as being something that doesn't matter because deep down he still loves her. Still though, there are different ways you can read the reactions, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Either way, Alicent doesn't share anything with her own child, and we see her coming across Aegon crying. Rather than going up to him, she ends up leaving and she slumps off to get some Kristen Pole. Getting hot and heavy spoilers. Anyway, it shows the predicament she's in. She isn't getting anything she feels like love or care from those around her, and thus she can't give it to her own kids. Thus, she just ends up returning to Kristen, who's the only person letting her feel something. It wraps up a brilliant episode that I felt like a lot of the actors gave their best performances in. Emma Darcy was great as Rhaenyra as well, and it topped off another great one. The Eric and Eric fight was something I thought was okay in the work, but they really went above and beyond with it here.